And we are live. I'm going to full screen this window. There we go. All right. I'm Doug Branson. I'm joined by Walker Mail and David Walker. We are Locked On Hornets. Walker, tell them a little bit about what we do here on Locked On Hornets. That's right. That's right. We're going to be watching the fourth quarter, although before we do that, I do want to swing back around and watch the beginning of this game just because of the introduction, the music, and we get that sweet, sweet Steve Martin on the broadcast. So I'm checking on our feed here to make sure everything's good. Walker's audio isn't coming through on YouTube, says producer Katie. So we'll try to get that figured out here momentarily. That's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I don't want them listening to you. I want them listening to me only. Um, David. All right. Well, yeah, we'll get that figured out too. Producer Katie, if you're listening, can you hear David's audio on? It says the desktop audio is going through to the stream, so we'll try to get this figured out. That's all part of this. This is kind of an experimental thing for the Locked On Podcast Network. So this is part of that big test. I don't know if we're failing, passing, or what, but we'll attempt to get it figured out. While we do that, David, do you remember watching this game live? Because I do not remember watching this game live. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure they can hear you either, so I am attempting to resolve this right now. But you guys just keep chatting while I figure this out because it's going to be difficult for me to chat whilst I figure this out. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. All right, you guys talk for me, please. Check, check.
Two.
And one more time.
Check, check, 1, 2. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Okay, and we are officially back in action. I'm Doug Branson of Locked On Hornets. I have with me Walker Mail of Locked On Hornets and David Walker of Locked On Hornets. And David is going to be tweeting out so that we can make sure we can get everybody back in here. We had some technical difficulties because live technology can be difficult. It can be experimental. I'm sure a lot of people are going through that right now with having to teleconference via work. Walker and David, can you introduce yourselves just so we can make sure that we have your audio on the feed here?
Yes, of course. Walker Mail, you guys know me. Of course, if you continue to listen to the podcast, along with Doug Branson here. And we're going to be watching this 1992-1993 playoff first round game 4 series against the Boston Celtics, again, between the Hornets and the Boston Celtics. A very good game. Don't want to play too much spoiler for you. But this is going to be a pretty fun ending result. So should be a good time to watch with Doug as well as you, David.
Yes, I'm David Walker back again, the only person here that was alive and or that can remember this game. So I'm excited to rewatch with you guys.
Yeah, David, can you talk to us about watching this game live? Because I don't. I was certainly old enough to watch it, but I don't recall actually watching this game. So what was it like to watch this thing live?
Yeah, the only thing I can relate it to.
Hey,
Just
David,
David,
David, your audio is a little choppy. I don't know if that's a AirPods thing.
Is that any better? Can you hear me now? Is it locking in at all?
It's still a little choppy. We'll try to get back to David here in a second. But yes, this is the 1993 Eastern Conference first round game 4, Boston Celtics versus Charlotte Hornets. We'll be watching the fourth quarter of this game. Very important game in the history of the Charlotte Hornets franchise. It represented their first series win. That's not too much of a spoiler. We won't give away exactly how it ends. It's a pretty exciting finish, but they do win this one. That's why we are watching it. We would not watch it if they lost this series.
You won't believe that Zach LaVine comes out of nowhere and hits a three-pointer at the end of this game. it's
exactly.
Insane.
David, go ahead.
Can you hear me any better now, Doug? Is that any better or worse?
Yeah, you're still a little choppy. I don't know if it might be a signal thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, one left.
All right, Walker or David's going to continue to work on his sound. Actually, what I want to do before we head to the fourth quarter to pick this game up, I want to go back to the beginning of this game, and I don't know if anyone's going to be able to hear this. Hopefully, they will be able to hear the sound that comes out of this game here. And if you can hear this sound,
I can hear it. Yeah, that sounds great. Oh, Steve, bless me with your pipes.
Got to get the guitar in there.
We missed the playoffs logo, right? Like, we missed that wholeheartedly.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was a great
100%.
It was a great NBA playoffs logo. David, you sound a lot better. So I don't know what you did there, but you sound amazing.
I went full 5G. Shut the Wi-Fi off.
There you go.
You know what? Give me a white snapback, flat bill with that playoff logo on it. That's what I want. I don't even know. It's got to be out there, but that's exactly what I want more than anything right now. That playoff logo is bringing serious nostalgia.
Oh man, Walker, I'm glad you said that. During the shut-in, I've been making my own hats, so now I'm going to look for a patch with that logo on it. Maybe I'll whip up a few.
That would be fantastic.
And we've got Steve Martin and Gil McGregor on the call. David, do you remember Gil McGregor?
Of course. Gil had the MC Hammer glasses back in the day, had the high top fade going, had the booming pipes. I mean, those two were the original like tag team Hornets announcers, and they just went with this whole group as part of the family. It was awesome. Yeah,
Gil McGregor actually did broadcasting for both the Charlotte Hornets and then went on to rejoin the Hornets as the New Orleans Hornets. So he was just a big part of this franchise. Only played one season in the NBA for the Cincinnati Royals. And also, I mean, just looking at this video now, he's kind of a dead ringer for John Amos of Good Times. Now, John Amos never had the high top fade, had a way different haircut, but my guy is looking like John Amos. He's a dead ringer.
Yeah, that's a beautiful haircut. Real quickly, how about Xavier McDaniel make an appearance? I did not expect to see Xavier McDaniel in this game. And I just want to say it was LJ against Xavier McDaniel that we were just watching in the highlights. And McDaniel doesn't get enough credit when we talk about all-time, all-back alley teams. Give me McDaniel, man. Like, we talk about some of these other brutes of men, but McDaniel doesn't get enough love, in my opinion. LJ and McDaniel, even Kenny Gaddison, throw him in there. We got some strong dudes down low in this game.
Yeah, and I've stopped the video on 222 right now for those listening at home, and I'm looking at the starting lineup for the Boston Celtics. Kevin Gamble, Alaa Abdelnaby, Robert Parrish, Sherman Douglas, and D. Brown. And I think anyone rewatching this would go, wait a minute, how in the world did this team make the playoffs, much less win 48 games and be the favorite to win this series against the Charlotte Hornets? And the answer is they had Reggie Lewis, but unfortunately Reggie Lewis went down in game one, and then, of course, tragically would pass away in the offseason. He wouldn't return to this series, and he was their leading scorer for the year. So it was a devastating injury for the Boston Celtics, and then, of course, one of the more tragic stories in NBA history, Reggie Lewis.
Yeah, I remember watching that game as well. It's just kind of crazy to think some of the, that's not the only tragedy that the Celtics franchise went through kind of around that time. So, yeah, it's interesting to think back and look at that, what they could have had rolling. They've since found success, obviously, later on, but just kind of not something you expect to deal with at all.
And I'm checking some text right now to see, producer Katie, if you can hear us, kind of check back in with us. Hopefully everyone out there is hearing Walker and David now. There you go. Okay, so now I've got it paused on the starting lineup for the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, Larry Johnson, Grandmama starting at forward. Then you had Johnny Newman at the other forward position, who we learned, Walker, we recently learned something interesting about him. What was it? We just went over a record.
That he scored 40 points a couple times.
Oh, my God.
Two times.
Johnny Newman, a 40-point scorer for the Charlotte Hornets on multiple occasions. That's right. Then at the guard
position. Yeah, we had he was like fourth on that list or something like that with the most 40-point games in Charlotte Hornet history. I did not know that, but Johnny, bona fide bucket getter.
And then at the guard position, you have Muggsy Bogues. You've got Kendall Gill, who I recently learned left the Hornets franchise only to come back. I knew Kendall was a big part of the beginning of this franchise, but I learned that he sort of acrimoniously left the Charlotte Hornets and then came back. So an interesting history for Kendall Gill on the Charlotte Hornets, but a big-time scorer. The Charlotte Hornets have not been blessed over the years with shooting guard talent. It's one of the weakest, I think, positions in Charlotte Hornets franchise history, and Kendall Gill up there among the best shooting guards we've had as a part of this franchise. And then, of course, at the center position, Alonzo Mourning, the Hall of Famer, the Rookie of the Year, the big-time scorer, blocker, rebounder. I mean, he did it all, and he does a lot in this game as well.
He does. He does do a lot in this game. And David and I were talking when we were having technical issues. We were talking a little bit about Alonzo Mourning and just how good he was as a Hornet. And if you're talking just skill, just his ability on the basketball court, he might be the best Charlotte Hornet of all time. If you just look at just basic skill for him, I mean, it's not Kemba. I mean, Kemba Walker is the best, right? But when you're talking about peak, the best players of all time, he might have been that. And then I had him ahead of Larry Johnson on the all top 30 list that we did when I first was a part of this show. And I kind of go back and think I should have put Larry Johnson even ahead of Alonzo because there was only 3 years here and Larry was such a cultural icon for the Hornets. But if we're talking just how good they were on the court for a period of time for this franchise, I don't know if you get better than what Zoe gave you.
Okay, just doing a little reset here for anyone that just joined us. I'm Doug Branson. I'm joined by Walker Mail and David Walker. We are part of the Locked On Hornets podcast. We're here live on Locked On Live. We are rewatching a historical game in the history of the Charlotte Hornets franchise. That is the 1993 Eastern Conference first-round matchup between the Celtics and the Hornets. This will be Game 4. It ends up being a deciding Game 4, and we are going to watch the fourth quarter. Real quickly, though, before we scroll to the fourth quarter and start watching, I just want to tell you how we got here. So Game 1, the Boston Celtics won 112-101. Then Game 2, the Charlotte Hornets won against the Boston Celtics, both of those games in Boston. Charlotte Hornets win Game 2, very exciting game, 99-98. Kevin McHale led the way for Boston in points with 30 off the bench. I mean, he was sort of playing a starter bench hybrid role as his career sort of sunsetted. And then finally, Game 3, the Hornets blew the Boston Celtics out 119-89. Larry Johnson led all scorers and rebounders with 29-11. And now we find ourselves here in Game 4. So, gentlemen, if you will, scroll with me to the beginning of the fourth quarter, which you will find at 1:08. We'll call it 37.
Yes.
And when you're ready, we are going to sync our plays so that we can all watch this together.
Okay. And I am ready to go.
And David?
Yes. Give us a countdown.
All right. Are we
3,
going
2,
now?
1,
This is
action.
important. Are we going on 3 or are we going after 3?
Oh no.
On 3.
Is it 1, 2, 3 shoot? Is that what we do?
Yeah, I think we
something
do.
like that.
We do 1, 2, 3 play. Okay. I think that's the way to go here.
1, 2, 3 play. Okay, got
Right.
it.
And
I'm ready
on
to go.
play, you hit play.
Yes.
Okay,
On
that
this-
sounds good.
I'm with you.
On the syllable pla, you should already be clicking.
Okay, I should already have clicked it before you even get to A. Got it.
Okay, great. Exactly. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, play. So we should
Nailed
be
it.
Perfect.
we should
I
be
can
synced
hear
up.
you. I can totally hear it.
We should all be seeing Super Hugo dunking the
We get a Super
original
Hugo crotch shot to start things off. That's what we get.
and then punching the air for some reason. I don't know why, but he looks amazing. The original Super Hugo. I love Super Hugo now, but you can't beat the original Super Hugo, can you?
Yeah, I always
I-
wish they would have gotten the original one to come back and do like one last double flip, and just to see, he would have been like 25 years older, but it would have been fun to see him try to do it.
All right, now how about these Bojangles hustle stats? I love that Bojangles was a sponsor back in 1993. Great stop, unless you're Nada the Scribe, who comes on the show often and hates Bojangles.
Just the chicken, though, right? Does he have a problem with the biscuits as well?
I
know the
think he has a
chicken is not-
problem with everything.
The chicken is dry to him. That's what it is. It's dried out
I
chicken.
mean, a little Rick Fox appearance.
Rick
in the
Fox
fourth
in this
quarter.
game, yeah, again off the bench, not starting. Kenny Gaddison looks like he got hit in the eye here. What happened here? Kenny
by
Gaddison.
who? Is
Oh
it
no,
Sid?
he got
Oh,
hit with the
yeah.
ball
Oh.
by his teammate.
Appreciate you.
Oh
God,
no!
look at all the glasses, man. It doesn't matter
Is
if
there
it's
any-
a trainer. It doesn't matter if it's Gil McGregor. The glasses are so good.
Guys, the Hornets couldn't. I mean, they couldn't get the ball in bounds or save it from going out of bounds even back then. Just throwing it right into the face of their teammates.
Of KG, the original KG.
Tony Bennett.
Yeah, there's Tony. Oh, look at that gear. All the gear.
He's
From
like,
the
guys,
fans.
let's-
This one, of
let's
course-
slow this down. Let's slow this down. Let's pack it in. Let's
That's
play some
right.
defense.
And this one, of course, being played in the Charlotte Coliseum, which no longer exists. It is, I think they're building some apartment buildings on it right now, but it was an empty lot for a long time after they demolished it. And that's
Oh, I
Curry.
know who
Oh,
that
Curry
is.
with a little
I
mid
know.
race. He's got to take a step back. Curry, he's a 3-point shooter, baby.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, that guy.
Oh,
Oh,
big-
that might have been a three.
Damn.
Oh, no, it wasn't a three. He was well.
That was a college
three.
three for McHale.
That was
I
a college
believe.
three.
That's right.
Yeah, he's getting yanked for that. You can't shoot that shot anymore.
Right, exactly. That's Daryl Morey would have had his head if he had tried to. And Kevin McHale did coach the Rockets for a little while, I believe.
Well, and I think they kind of beefed, didn't they? I think they had problems.
All right, there we go.
DB. No.
DB
Oh,
not
what a-
for three, unfortunately. But there, see, he learned his lesson. He took a step back. You got to take a step back, and I think we got a pulled butt muscle there.
Yeah, well, it's he pulled his ass, right? That's what Matt Geiger said.
That's right. Yeah, a famous Matt
Sherman.
Geiger pulled ass.
The Shermanator, Sherman Douglas.
Man, what's funny is we've been watching this for 2 minutes and we've already had a couple of injuries. And everyone that says these guys can't play in the 90s are just feeling so vindicated right now.
Let me give you a rundown. Let me give you a rundown of this. What we're seeing on the floor, or at least until he subbed in Larry Johnson there. The bench for the Charlotte Hornets. Del Curry got 25 minutes in this game. Kenny Gaddison pulled in 23. David Wingate 13. Sidney Green got 10 minutes in this game, and then you saw Tony Bennett, of course, now the coach of Virginia. He had 8 minutes in this game. Some of them coming in the beginning of this fourth quarter. I think don't people forget how good Kenny Gaddison was? I just think Kenny Gaddison was. Maybe I just think he was much
I don't
better.
think they do. I think we like Kenny Gaddison. I think he's probably fine. I think we rate him 5.
All right. So
what is incredible to me watching this, guys, is just the amount of almost dad bods out there running around on these two lineups. Like when you compare it to today's games and some of the athleticism you see, it's kind of funny to see these guys bouncing around out there.
I love how quickly Bristow had seen enough in the fourth quarter. He was like, all right, get LJ in there, get Zoe in there. He has seen enough. He wants to win this game. Muggsy's back in. I mean, essentially all the starters are back in now. Alan Bristow had seen enough.
You know who definitely does not have a dad bod? It's Mr. Alonzo Mourning. Did you see those arms? I flinched when I saw him.
Oh, double teaming LJ. How about that? A little double team on LJ. Oh, Zoe. Oh man, there were 5 bodies.
That's a flagrant 2. Somebody's getting kicked out
in today's NBA. You're right.
And I hate those jokes, but it's kind of true.
They're still here. Yeah, those people feel so vindicated. Like they're watching this game and seeing like, yeah, James Harden couldn't do that here.
Let's see this.
There's immediate triple team on Zoe.
Triple team.
And they've got him paired with Kenny Gaddison. So, I mean, they are putting some beef on the floor right now, some size to go up against McHale and Parrish.
McHale and Parrish. I mean, for the younger viewers, I mean, everyone knows how legendary that front line was for the Celtics, and this is kind of like the last gasp of that run, but it's just still crazy to see those two guys out there battling this young, up-and-coming Hornets team. It really was a chance for the Hornets to kind of grab the Eastern Conference. You know, it's one of those things you look back on. It's like, man, if they just could have stayed together, you never know.
Well, we looked at that starting lineup, Doug. I mean, McHale wasn't there, right? Like, I know he was always a sixth man, but it's almost like one of those Lou Williams sixth men that you just want to have that tab, because Kevin McHale, like over Alaa Abdel Nabi, I mean, McHale should be still starting, right?
I would think so.
I guess. I mean, obviously Boston disagreed. They went with the young athletic line.
Well, they were wrong. I'm telling them they were wrong.
well, we know they were wrong. They lost the series. Hey, so would you like to know the 3-point statistics over the entire course of the series?
I would like to know that.
4-game series, okay? The Charlotte Hornets for the entire series were 6 of 20 from 3. And the Boston Celtics were 7 of 28.
Oh,
for the series. So we've seen all the threes we're going to see. The one by Tony Bennett.
Yeah, that's a good game. So we'll start with Walker. Can you name all of the Charlotte Hornets that attempted a 3-pointer in this series?
Are we just going around, or am I just going to try to name them all now?
You name as many as you can, and if you get one wrong, then I'll send it to David.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to go Del Curry.
That's
a good guess.
That's correct. 5 of 11 in the series.
Muggsy got one up, right?
Muggsy was 0 for 1 in the series.
Okay. I'll go. Give me Kendall Gill. He had to put one up.
Kendall Gill was 0 of 3 in the series.
Yeah. So how many players did we get a total? Or I'm just trying to name as many as I can.
There are 3, 4, 5. There are only 5, so you got 2 more. Can you guess the other 2? Otherwise, David Walker gets to come in and steal. This is like Family Feud.
Man, I don't think Wingate did. What about was Scotty Burrell on this team?
Scotty Burrell was not on this team. This is not the Scotty B era of Charlotte Hornets basketball.
Okay. Well, then I lose, David. It's your turn.
All right.
Well, did you say the aforementioned Tony Bennett? Because I just saw him shoot one.
Tony Bennett. Show me Tony Bennett. Right. That is correct. Tony Bennett, 1 of 4 in this series. We've got one more. Can you guess the other Charlotte Hornet that was able to attempt a 3-point shot in this series? Tony Bennett, the only other one to make one.
Did we guess LJ?
You did not, and that is incorrect, so you both lose. Johnny Newman was 0 for 1.
Of course. We just talked about it.
Score
in the series. Yeah, LJ did not attempt a 3-point shot. He was 35 of 57 from 2, though.
Yeah,
61% from the field.
Threes until they moved that line in a little bit. That was his year.
Well, and his back injury that ultimately led to him leaving Charlotte and sort of transformed him as he went to the New York Knicks into a shooter. I mean, he was not considered a shooter until really he went to New York.
Burrell, by the way, was a rookie the following year.
And Muggsy from Wake Forest.
College 3.
Yeah, College 3, Wake Forest. Muggsy knocking it down. People going crazy.
The
Marlboro lad.
Explodes when Muggsy hits a wide open jumper.
Oh, look at you see the cigarette ad back there? How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Marlboro, man.
Look at this double team on Parrish. Just double teams everywhere.
Double teams.
And every time LJ touches the ball, they're double teaming him. I mean, that's how much of a force he was on that left block.
Well, yeah, Zoe and LJ, right? Like those are the guys you worried about. We saw a triple team on Zoe earlier.
We wouldn't see that left block prowess again until Al Jefferson returned. Maybe Anthony Mason was good from the left block. I don't recall.
I think I know the Celtics' problem. They appear to be going to Rick Fox a lot.
But he's so pretty, David. He's so beautiful.
I mean, listen.
It's a big draft. That's a big draft pick for them.
Oh, yeah. Look, I love Rick Fox.
All right,
you just saw Kendall Gill shoot what was basically a college three back then. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Those guys are both getting yanked, or at least stern talking to, for shooting those shots like a step inside the 3-point line these days.
Yeah,
it's crazy. This game has been crazy physical down low. Oh, a little nifty shot there, but probably Mikhail. It's a little blurry, tough to say, but most likely.
I will never get over just how truly short Muggsy was. And we all know the stat. We all know he's the shortest 5'3". Yeah. It will never happen again. I don't see those people walking on the street. It'll take a long time before I go out in the world to find somebody that's 5'3". And Muggsy was out here playing basketball at a pretty high level.
That's a good point. That's a great point, man. They are throwing double teams at LJ as soon as he catches the ball.
I'm trying to see who is guarding Muggsy at this point to see what exactly.
Sherman.
Was it Sherman? Yeah.
Sherman.
God, look at all the haircuts. They're all so clean, man.
There's a little stat for you. Kendall Gill was selected 5th overall by Charlotte in the 1990 NBA draft. So he was a high draft pick. Kendall Gill, top 5.
You mentioned the lack of shooting guard talent throughout the history of this franchise. I mean, that's why so many people put Del Curry as their top shooting guard, one of the top Hornets players ever. Of course, his longevity as well. But I really thought Kendall Gill could be that guy when he came out. High draft pick, really athletic guy from Illinois. Michael Jordan played in Illinois. There were those connections there. But was a nice fit. But just wasn't none of these guys were. It wasn't like the sharpshooter. It was more of a slashing guy. But was a fun fit with Zoe and LJ at the time.
I believe Kendall Gill, if I'm not mistaken, holds the record. There's a three.
There we go.
Moneyball. I do think that Kendall Gill holds the record for most steals in a game, if I'm not mistaken. I still think he holds that. We do have the power of Google.
Wow. Look at these haircuts in the crowd.
They're all so good.
So we're not getting a very consistent scoreboard, which was definitely indicative of the time at which we were watching. We didn't have that kind of graphic capability. But
by the way,
Curry
Kendall Gill,
corner.
Yeah. By the way, Kendall Gill had 11 steals. That still is the record, and a triple double in 1999 for the Nets. So he still has that record.
Wow. I probably would have guessed Muggsy with the steals. But that's a good little nugget.
Yeah, and that's all time, not even just Hornet, right? So that's Kendall playing for the Nets that's not even franchise record. That's Kendall Gill, most steals all time from any NBA player in history.
Holy moly!
Oh, look at that little sign in the crowd. We want New York.
Bring it on, Patrick Ewing, you bum.
Spoiler: they did not want New York.
Narrator, they didn't. Yeah, I was saying earlier, guys, the feeling around town at this time was a lot like when the Panthers made some of those Super Bowl runs recently. It's the thing I can compare it to most. There was such a feeling of community and just excitement around the Hornets. And, this was as far as, they'd ever gone. It felt like, well, this is the first round. So, yeah. But to be in this position up against the storied Celtics and to have a chance to winning like that, it was a lot of excitement around Charlotte at that time around the Hornets. Sadly, haven't seen much of that as of late, but crazy time.
I hope you guys appreciated it, David. I hope you grew to appreciate it as much as any, because we got one early 2000 run that matched this, and that was it. That's all we would experience.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was
Morning
nasty.
with a serious dunk. Here we go. Charlotte up 100-89. Great. Now I can keep score so I can kind of update people. I need to write that down there. It's 100-89. Boston would actually score 33 in this quarter. I don't want to spoil things, but they do make a little run here. They do come back. This is not going to be a blowout.
They have a little stretch.
Now it's 191, 100-91 Boston. I'll be the scorekeeper for this little live stream that we have.
Yeah, this is wild. Think about this. There's no clock. There's nothing on the screen.
Kenny Gaddison on the block. So you can see them going to Kenny Gaddison a little more with all the double teams to LJ and Mourning. They're going to go to Kenny and say, Kenny, go get us a bucket.
Who was the better KG, Kendall Gill or Kenny Gaddison?
Kevin Garnett.
All right, that's probably true. You're probably right about that.
All right, Kenny Gaddison stepping up to the line. Look at that. He was so good. I'm telling you, people don't appreciate Kenny.
Okay,
Man,
fine.
I didn't realize I didn't realize the Kenny Gaddison fanboy that we had in Doug, but
I didn't know that was a real thing.
Yeah.
This season, he averaged 19.7 minutes per game, started 5 times, and he would average 6.8 points per game.
Somehow Kenny got 0 rebounds in this game. That's pretty amazing. He finishes with 8 points and 3 assists, but no rebounds somehow.
So
a lot of tall trees in there.
What happened is, so Kenny Gaddison actually averaged 13 points a game the year prior, and then they draft Zoe. And
nice little cut to the rim there. Was that Douglas? I believe Sherman on the.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's a 7-point lead, which is 100-93. The Hornets in a bit of a scoring drought here. Little pick and roll play, step up, mid-range shot, splash. Kendall. 102-93. A little more. Mourning set a great screen there too. I mean, he just did it all. I'm telling you, I can't believe the Hornets couldn't find a way to keep this guy. I mean, I know the money was crazy. I'd love to know some more of the history. Maybe we'll find that out in our Hornets.
Stay tuned.
Maybe we'll find something out about how that actually went down. Why Alonzo Mourning ended up finishing his Hall of Fame career in Miami and going into the Hall of Fame as a Miami Heat instead of a Charlotte Hornet. Maybe we'll find
That's something I'd be
out.
interested in.
Yeah. Tune into Locked On Hornets.
I would like to know, because of the Fab Five and the way that they brought long shorts to the game, I would like to know if we go back 1 year prior to this or 2 years, because these shorts are pretty long for them.
Yeah, these shorts are pretty long, and also everyone's wearing black shoes because this is the playoffs.
I love that we have, by the way,
kind of did that.
I love that we have no idea what the time is on the game. Like, even the graphics aren't even revealing it to us.
It looks like it's like 2 minutes to go.
I think it's
up on the shot clock. It looks like 2 minutes.
It's 102-95. Yeah, it has to be, because you're just judging by the final score. I know what the final score is, and we are getting close to being done with this game. I can also tell you that the Hornets don't get many buckets from here on out. 102-95 right now, the score, and the Hornets are struggling. There's Hugo in the background waving the towel. Hopefully not the white flag. The Hornets
I think they have their best lineup out there, right? I mean, that certainly seems like it. It's Kendall Gill. It looks like their best lineup.
The Hornets were second in pace in this season.
There he is. George Shin.
That tie.
I recently met George Shin.
That's right.
It was a very weird meeting. He looks vastly different than his clean-cut look. It's interesting. He has this clean-cut look in Charlotte, and it was almost they sort of made him do that, is how the legend goes, that the NBA was like, you and your crew got to clean it up, you Charlotteans, if you're going to be part of the National Basketball Association. Of course, David Stern.
What was he, just like wearing flip-flops and shorts?
I'm hearing this from David. I'm hearing this from George Shin, so I'm not spilling any tea here. He says that they looked like hillbillies. I mean, they looked like, probably a little longer hair, maybe some party in the back.
Definitely in the back, for sure. Yeah. Hey, so do you think this is the TV call from the Hornets network, or is this the radio call?
Well, we saw Steve Martin and Gil McGregor on television.
Huh.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, a little nugget.
Charlotte's consecutive sellout streak actually ended in 1997 versus Detroit. So that would be 4 years later. They would finally end the sellout streak. That's odd. 97. Why did it end in 97? What happened, David? Tell us about 1997.
Well, that was, what the heck?
Did you do your part? Did you go to that game?
I was definitely at that game. I was so mad at everyone who wasn't there.
Right.
I was just yelling.
You were outside trying to give away tickets.
Yeah. I was just on my phone the whole game. So do we think this was not well, it had to be a national game, right, Doug? They must have just used the local guys, or maybe the local guys covered it too at that time.
Well, I mean, I don't know that every playoff game back in 1993 would have been a national game. Maybe because this is first round. It's not the Eastern Conference Finals. So they may have let the regional partners handle all of the festivities. Oh, Bristow is just dancing.
Irate.
I love Alan Bristow. Forgotten name. The Hive is alive.
The Hive is alive.
1 second on the shot clock here. What are they going to do? Kenny Gaddison.
I think we just got a suggestion to go to Kendall Gill, is what I heard from the commentator.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
They didn't.
Not a lot of good shots.
It was LJ mid-range falling out of bounds. Not the best look that they could have gotten there, although it's tough with 1 second on the clock. That's right, Gil. They have the basketball. Boston has the basketball. 97-102. Boston, Sherman Douglas dribbling it up. Look at that intense defense by Muggsy Bogues. He is low, and then he can get low. He's easily getting low. Oh, yeah, finally. Why don't they just leave it up?
1 foot.
What are they doing? I don't
There's
understand.
2 clocks now. Now we have all the clocks. Oof. A tough drive.
When did someone say, hey, maybe we should leave this up? Like, at what point in NBA history were we like, hey, maybe we could just leave this up the entire game instead of only, in close games with 1:30 to go?
So who is 34 for the Celtics?
That would be 34 is Kevin Gamble.
Oh, wow. I would not have guessed that.
Never.
Oh, and the quick.
He's destroying the Hornets right now.
All right, Kevin Gamble. What did he finish this game with? Kevin Gamble would finish. He's the starting forward for them. He would finish 6 of 6 from the field, 14 points. So he was huge in this game.
That's LJ at the top of the key. That's
LJ at the top, dribbling. That's why you don't have LJ doing that.
Bristow, what are you doing?
Larry.
And that was Sherman Douglas with the layup.
They're excited.
Pretty epic collapse here so far.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning about this game. As exciting as the finish is, it was an epic collapse by Bristow and his Hornets.
There's Brian Scalabrine.
Man, Scalabrine's in this game. Wow.
He's older than I thought.
So if you want to trace the DNA of the Charlotte Hornets now all the way back to the original crew, I mean, this habit of collapsing is nothing new.
Right.
I feel like this is the most forgotten Boston Celtics team ever. Just this whole era. These players like old McHale and Parrish with a bunch of guys nobody's heard of.
All right, mid-range,
that's not true, just
big
those
miss.
guys.
Big miss on the mid-range by Kendall Gill. That was not a great shot. All right, now they have to play defense. It's 102-102. It's tied.
No score on the screen. I don't want to say Bristow got outcoached in this one, but I'm not sure what he was doing.
Who is the coach of the Celtics at this point?
Chris Ford.
Chris Ford. You're right. Chris Ford. Let's look up Chris Ford history. Why not?
Look at this. Rick Fox brought the ball up a lot, and then 10-second violation again.
I don't know.
My man Foxy, not a great day.
Oh, this guy's pumped.
Bro. Hell yeah, bro.
His wife is also pumped. Everyone's pumped. Chris Ford is beside himself.
He's not pumped.
He was the assistant coach for 7 years in Boston before taking over as head coach in 1991 and coaching for 5 years.
Oh, Boston's have won. Okay.
Chris Ford would coach Boston through their dark years, post Bird.
Do you guys see like Steph or Seth in Dell, like in his mannerisms and his gait? Because
Seth for sure.
You do? Okay.
I think Seth, but maybe not Steph. Steph's got his own gait.
One.
This would actually be the last game when you wouldn't see a shot of the entire Curry family in NBA history.
How about LJ again? Top of the key.
And
that's what I'm saying. Bristow.
And not a great shot, not a great set, really no set. It was just give the ball to LJ, ISO.
So do you remember the Dallas set? This
So
is
3 seconds
they
left.
won a game in
I think the
Dallas.
score is actually 103-102. The Hornets
It
are
is.
down 1.
It is. Oh, wow. Okay, here we are. 3 seconds left.
All right, no timeouts left, I guess. Here we go. Inbounds. You got Kendall Gill
Classic
going around
inbounds
the
play.
curl.
Oh,
Step
boy.
back. It's good. Hornets win. Hornets win.
Now, what's crazy is I remember talking to Steve Martin about this, how everybody dog piles on Zoe, but they actually have to come back and play a little bit more. So that was not a buzzer beater. They actually will come back onto the floor and play like, I don't know how many tenths of a second, but it's not necessarily a buzzer beater.
Oh, man. Bristow is not
Bristow, easy, man.
Hey.
Easy. Don't get a tweet.
Let's rewind this back and watch it again and with the call on full blast.
Okay, sounds good.
Hopefully people hear this. Good! Good!
So
It's over. There's the call. That's the only call. I mean, Steve Martin, but it's great. It's historic. Steve Martin, it's over.
I'm pretty, and so they would come back with 4/10. So he says that, and then there's 4/10 of a second left. If you'll fast forward, there's 4/10 of a second left.
That's crazy.
So Steve mentions that. Nobody remembers that it actually wasn't a buzzer beater, but they had 4/10 of a second left.
And now you're seeing. I don't know if you guys are synced anymore because I went back, but now the refs are trying to get everybody off the floor.
So here's the thing. I've never seen this last play after that Zoe shot, but there is a busted coverage at the rim. And Mikhail is inbounding it. And I can't see exactly who gets free, but they're doing the old lob play. And boy, if Mikhail throws that earlier, that's a lost ball game.
Okay, that's a
lost ball game.
That's a good preview because we haven't seen it yet here on the live stream. We're still waiting to catch up, but thank you. That's a good preview of what's going to come up. So watch for the busted coverage, 4/10 of a second left on the clock. You wouldn't know that because they don't put the clock on the screen for some reason.
Right.
They will in a second. There will be 4/10s that they'll show you in a second. Amazing.
There it is.
Oh man,
well, I don't think you get a rebound.
The crowd.
I was like, are you talking about this play?
Look at Bristow.
The crowd is
Bristow's in his face.
Take it easy, Bristow.
All right, so now they're at the bench. Rick Fox is like, look, Rick Fox is at this point. I'm at 134-30. Rick Fox right now looking at his coach like, listen, I know I've missed the past 17 shots, but let me get the ball one more time.
Ball.
I'm the young gun. You've drafted me. I'm ready to go.
So I don't know if you want to fast forward. But 135-30 might be a good place for you.
Okay, I'm at 135-30 now. 4/10 on the clock.
Advance the ball, of course. God,
the drama runs high. See, nobody remembers that call. The drama runs high, Steve Martin says.
Look at Mikhail's arms, dude. Has there ever been a better person to inbound the ball in NBA history?
If they would have had an earlier pass, maybe here on this particular play. This play's nuts. Nobody remembers.
Oh
this.
yeah, Buster, you're right.
Basket,
Oh
dude.
my God.
He wanted a foul too.
Oh,
Bristow, get out of there, Bristow. Get out of there.
Somebody get Bristow out of there.
Who is that gets free? I think, is it LJ that gets
caught
in the screen?
Got to be D Brown, right?
Well, is it LJ? Okay, so
they are assaulting the ref right now. The ref's taking his whistle off. He's like, "This game's over, guys. I just took my whistle off."
That means it's over.
When I take my whistle off, that is officially game. The Boston Celtics are following the ref. I mean, this would not be tolerated in today's NBA.
All right, let's see who it was. It's got to be D Brown.
New York flashing on the screen right now. The Hornets were already ready for the next series.
So who is that who comes in and saves it at the last second? Is that Kendall?
Zoe is over there.
No, it's Zoe and
is it Kendall? Or Newman?
I think it was Newman. That's not Kendall. That was Newman.
It's definitely not Kendall. Or it's definitely not Zoe, I should say. I know. Okay, so Newman looks like, the ref taking his whistle off. He's done. He's done with you.
So, as it turns out, the Hornets were very lucky to win this game, correct?
Man.
They won the series, best of 5.
That's right.
That's
Back.
crazy.
I'm on the final score now. I'm just on this still shot of the final score. Eastern Conference Round 1, Game 4. One of the best games in Charlotte Hornets history. And you got to watch the end of it there that not a lot of people remember. The Hornets with one last piece of defense that they needed to take care of, and they did just enough. Charlotte Hornets win 104-103. They win the series 3-1. They'd go on to New York and get smacked down. But it was the first Hornets playoff series win, and it was in front of a crowd that you just don't see much anymore in Charlotte. But hopefully, they will rebuild this team and get the Spectrum Center rocking again once we get to resume basketball.
Yeah, hopefully the Baby Bees are able to resurrect some good basketball here, and everybody can go to the Spectrum Center once again, because this thing looks awesome. I mean, I'm on a still shot right now of everybody waving their T-shirts, whatever they have in their hand, and it is lit at the Charlotte Coliseum, and it looks so much fun. And of course you want this time back here in Charlotte.
100%. So do you guys remember that set play that we saw like 5 or 6 times towards the end of the game that almost lost them the game, where it was basically clear out, flatten out for LJ? They ran it one time in Dallas and it worked, and then they kept going to it over and over and over again to their demise because it did not work. It did not work well, and that's the play they went to over and over again.
You mean the LJ post up from half court didn't work? I'm shocked. Yeah,
that's
all they kept doing.
So they go to the LJ ISO play where he just sort of backs his way in, starting at half court.
Yeah, there's no front face dribbling. It's all backing his ass all the way back to the court.
Right, it gets stolen on it. It gets stolen on at one point, ends up being a Boston Celtics layup. But then the winning play is a set blob to get open Alonzo Mourning from mid range, almost a 3-point shot.
And I'll say, like, he basically made that happen. I mean, he wasn't going anywhere. He basically had to pull up, but
he stepped back.
There was not much action. Yeah. Exactly.
I think it might be legitimately a college 3. Yeah, I know it's not NBA 3.
It's close.
I mean, he's far. I mean, it might be.
Well, gentlemen, this was fun. I hope everyone was able to hear us and they weren't just hearing me. We're working through these technical difficulties, trying to experiment with this live technology. But I hope you enjoyed this game rewatch of the Charlotte Hornets. If you are a Hornets fan and you never heard of us, go to Locked On Hornets on your favorite podcast app. You can just search Locked On Hornets. We do this every day, and we're doing interviews with Rick Bonnell from the Charlotte Observer. We're doing interviews with Eric Collins about little bits of Hornets history. We've got more to come next week. Final thoughts, Walker. We'll start with you on this historic win for the Charlotte Hornets.
Well, yeah, it was awesome to just kind of watch this game as it played out and see some of the other details besides the Zoe shot. But to me, it really is all about that last play. Like, that's what I'll remember most from going back and rewatching this. I remember interviewing Steve Martin at the end of his career, and of course you ask him about that call. And it's funny because we all love that call, and yet technically it's wrong. It wasn't over. There was still 4/10 of a second left to go. And the defense was bad. If Mikal throws that pass earlier, if he times that better, then that's a busted coverage, all-time letdown of a loss where they had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. They continue to not be able to score points, and then Boston almost was able to take away what is the best moment in Charlotte Hornets history. I mean, it almost was erased. So it's crazy. That's what I'll take away most from rewatching this game.
A big what if. What if D. Brown had been able to knock in that layup, and then we're going to Game 5 in Boston, and it's a whole nother thing. So, David, what will you remember from this live stream?
Yeah, I didn't remember any of that stuff, and it's funny how we romanticize things that we have a lot of nostalgia for. But at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter because it went down as a win in the records book, and it doesn't matter that they basically collapsed, stopped scoring all the way down the stretch, and then made a miraculous shot from Zoe, and then to Walker's point, had to come up with a really tough stop on D to just pull that game out, which makes it even more unbelievable if you think about it. They had to get everything to go right their way in that last like 20 seconds or so. But it doesn't matter because it was the win. That's all anybody remembers. And hopefully we can see a few more of those coming up.
So much to take away. I mean, Gil McGregor looking like John Amos from Good Times. You've got Alan Bristow, the coach of the Charlotte Hornets, Very emotional, more emotional than I ever remember or think about Alan Bristow.
Yeah, he was kind of crazy.
He was almost, he needed to be held back. He needed to probably go cool off after this game, get in the ice tub, as well as the players. And then I'll also remember the Boston Celtics almost like gathering around the referee. Like this was serious. And the referee taking his whistle off and saying, "No, fellas, this game is over."
Yeah, Sherman Douglas being the one that I was afraid most would attack the ref. Sherman Douglas was all up in his face.
All right. Speaking of over, this live stream is over. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll try to do this again maybe in a couple of weeks when we get some technical stuff figured out. But until then, go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.